All right.
Well,
Okay, it is 6:03 p.m. Gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. I guess you know who's in attendance.
Yeah. Oh, two attendees now. Who is that? Christian? Christian, is that you?
Possibly.
Hi, this is Christian.
Yeah, it's him.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, Mr. Vice President, since I'm on the phone, would you please chair the meeting and then I'll just chime in if I need to.
Sure.
Okay, good.
All right. So welcome. Let's come to order. Before we proceed with the agenda, is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Hearing none, apparently.
I have one.
Oh.
I have one. I'm sorry. Just an update, and this is for Candy Cane Lane and the parade. I had to have a phone call with Shauna today. And she stated, you know, and this is the conversation we've had before about if policies change or things change, it's great if they, you know, don't tell us after things have occurred. So what is going to have to happen is I had to resend the parade application and everything to her. In the past, I've always signed the application because there's no waiver on it. It's just saying we want to sponsor. Going forward, and I had to send a blank one to her, we are not allowed to sign anything, whether it be an application, be it anything. We cannot sign anything. Anything that requires a signature has to have an approval for you to sign it on a case-by-case basis. So I had to send a blank one to her now to then process the approval of the parade. Candy Cane Lane, I have to resubmit the event after the candy canes and the arts and crafts are approved on the board meeting, because they all have to be part of the package and not separate. And a budget has to be submitted with all of that included.
Is this city clerk's policy, or is this from Dunn, or how is this?
Dunn has no say in the financial portion of our neighborhood council. City clerk runs all of that and runs all the approval of everything. So they are the gods of this that say whether we get to do something or not, or approve funding. Dunn has nothing. They basically are overdone.
All right. Well,
unfortunately. So I told her that in order to order this stuff, I need her to, I was in the 30-day window and I don't want this to extend the 30-day window. We need this timely done. And she agreed. So.
all right. Yeah, well, as long as they, again, if they don't punish us for not having told us in time, then we'll just do whatever it is they need us to do, I guess.
Yep.
So, cost of doing business. All right, is there any other comment on a non-agenda item? Okay, so item number 3 would be discussion of the situation with the minute taker, of which I have a glancing kind of tangential understanding of. I've been kind of trying to follow all the emails and the different versions of everything I've been hearing, but I think that Vic probably has the most comprehensive knowledge of this. So could you break it down for us, Vic, and let us know what's been going on?
well, Melanie and I both do from different aspects and some overlapping, but basically the initial, you know, and I'm going to go with this at a fairly top level. The initial minute taker did a poor job and wasn't communicating virtually at all. So we have a new one who has done a much better job, and based on essentially our decision here at this meeting, will most likely be the one who goes forward doing the minutes on a regular basis. The minutes, the draft minutes that were sent out, I think it was yesterday, were the second person's minutes, not the first one. The first one wasn't even worth sending out. So I think Melanie would concur that our recommendation is going forward with the second person to do the minutes on a regular basis. And then, separate from that, if for some reason she can't, I can be a backup, but the main decision is going forward with the second person.
Yeah, there just was no communication, no response to email. Vic had emailed me and said, hey, and text me, and he says, have you heard from her? I sent like 3-4 emails and no confirmation of receipt of what I received. And then we were like up to the day that the minutes were due to send out for draft, and no communication until the very last minute. And then, oh, they'll be there shortly. And all this time he had sent emails and no communication from her at all, period. And that's just not a relationship that works going forward. If somebody's doing work for you, they've got to be in communication and follow through the steps, as well as get billing done on time every month. So our MER isn't constantly playing catch up for the billing.
Yeah, it would seem that like this particular, task, given the role is note taking, that the documentation and it's like it seems well, it just makes sense that like,
yeah,
even with any other sort of contractor, that type of performance would be a problem, but this is literally
then when we got the actual minutes, there was a lot of mistakes. There was a wrong vote counts, wrong people making motions. Victor made the motion supposedly for Gwen's letter to go forward on it, and it's like, wait, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, it shouldn't be more. I would imagine that in general, keeping track of what it is we say and vote on or whatever, pretty straightforward. It shouldn't be made harder, obviously. Is there so the arrangement we had with the previous minute taker, was that person the contractor, or was she an employee of somebody else?
Bridge Gap, and she wasn't communicating with him either.
Okay, so this is a service essentially, and they're providing someone for us.
Yes,
but the contractor is this one company. All right, and so this new person is also
through him, and he yanked our previous person and said, she won't be doing your minutes anymore. I've got this person to do it.
And so are we the right word, are we locked into a relationship with the present provider?
Pretty much. It's either Apple One, Lloyd Staffing, or Bridge Gap. Bridge Gap is the easiest to work with and the cheapest.
Okay.
But there's a floating contract rate between a couple dollars between all of them. And Lloyd Staffing was contacted when we were looking for someone. They had no one that was willing to come and do our minutes. Apple One had no one willing to come and do our minutes.
Okay. Well,
and so
it looks like we have the right to, since they're willing to actually do it, is willing to do it like they provide those services, but they didn't have anybody in their staff who was willing to do the job that they're contracted to do. Is it like,
right? Because a lot of the people are already doing a lot of them in the Valley, and once we go in,
okay, so it's a commitment to be in person eventually. Yeah, that makes more. Okay, that's the part that makes sense. All right, so yeah, that when we're back in person, the San Pedro part of it is the issue. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, then it seems like we both have a better option than before, and no other options.
Local. Gina's local. The girl that she's in Wilmington. So
okay. Well, then it seems like we've more or less landed right side up on this one.
Yeah.
All right. So is there anything else we need to do, or is that all?
No, it's just to let the executive board know what's happening so that everybody's informed.
Well, we appreciate you guys taking care of that, because again, just from me skimming through the emails and trying to follow the broad strokes of it, it seemed like a real hassle. So hopefully less of one going forward.
Yeah, we've already worked out, we being mainly Gina and me, a process for doing the minutes and a timeline and everything like that. So we've got a plan, and now we just, go forward with that and see where we need to tweak anything to make things work better and stuff like that. But we've got what should be a very workable plan. at this
Yeah. She understands the expectations, so I think we'll be fine. And she responds to emails.
Yes.
That's good. All right, well, does everybody feel like that's been pretty well handled and put to bed?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, well then let's move on to the meat of the matter here. It's a discussion of agenda items for the November board and stakeholder meeting. Does anybody remember? I'm trying to pull the draft agenda up. Does anybody?
I'm doing it right now.
Oh, okay. Oh, excellent. Thank you. Much easier than me going back through my emails. I have more. I mean, I guess most people do, but every day of my life is a new record for the number of emails that I have to manage. Like between I have a utility account, I have a more or less personal account which I use for this stuff, and anything that's not related to my business, and then a business one, and it's just every day is just pages and pages. And the problem is that stuff gets pushed to the bottom so quickly when new things come in, that I might not know something is there, because if 10 things come in, it literally I may not know to scroll down and go find this very
I
important
have to
thing.
do search.
Yeah,
Search.
exactly. Well, and that's the thing, that I have to know it's there in the first place, because even if it pops up on my phone or whatever, it's one of many things, and it just gets pushed out to the pipeline. All right, so before we go into detail on anything, does anybody have any particular, was there anything, a standout issue going into this? Is there anything that we needed to, you guys know we need to work on?
Mm-mm.
Well, my only question was, do we have any presentations?
I don't.
I had not. Oh, go ahead.
I don't think we do.
Yeah, I had not heard or seen of any in particular. I guess we'll just have to wait and see who shows up for public officials and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't recall any conversations about presentations.
Okay, I didn't either. That's why I was asking.
Okay. I mean, and we can leave it there. If somebody pops in and it seems like a reasonable, well, do they have to be specific? Like,
Yeah,
does it,
they have to submit before the.
okay, well, in that case, then we won't have that then.
At least unless something pops up that we can put in between now and Thursday.
Okay, yeah, which could, of course, but all right, we'll
But
see.
for right now, I'll put none, since as of now, that's what it is.
That's good for me. All right, and for the consent calendar, yeah, I saw that you added Lori stepping down from youth and outreach, and we didn't have any other changes to committees or membership or anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, or nothing that would require consent. Okay,
Chris, also take a look at that motion under public safety.
well, yes, yeah, that's the one. That's the kind of the big, at least from the stuff I've been involved in, that's been the kind of cornerstone. I'm sure they'll eat up a bunch of time. Yeah.
Before we get down that far, do we have anything that we know of from planning and land use? I haven't seen anything, but
Yeah, I kind of, kept an eye out. I will, I'm sure if Diana has something, it's not like she would not let us know about it. But again, as we have a couple of days, it would be strange if there's absolutely nothing, but you never know. She might be busy elsewhere.
and then I added for the bylaws and elections, I assume she will be talking about the status of the Averill seat.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And if not, then we'll just, it's good to include that, I think. All right, budget and finance is the standard. Yeah, approve the money. Mel, do
So
you know where we're going to try and get these supplies from?
The candy canes I'm gonna order on Amazon because that's the easiest place to get them. We've got them before. The other thing for the kids, John was supposed to get back to me because this is the thing, the time crunch. If he's doing Oriental trading for those pre-done kits, Oriental trading is slow on shipping.
Yeah.
So he needs to be on it like boom to get me the amount that they need and the money and figure out the shipping, how long it's going to take and all that. So we can factor in there what we're going to do, you know, using them price point wise. It sounds like they're the best way to go, but we don't want to be stuck paying for these things and then they come after the event is over.
Yeah. And again, I remember looking briefly at the end of Youth and Outreach meeting. Amazon might be a better option if time becomes a factor, because at least the pricing is, it doesn't take that long to figure out.
Do they have the pre little kits on Amazon?
I'm just assuming they do because they have practically everything, but I think if I would be surprised if Oriental Trading has access to something that Amazon doesn't, but I'm just saying if there's a crunch that makes one seem out of reach.
Also, the other thing that Shauna said is those little kits that we give out, we have to put our neighborhood council sticker on them.
Really?
Yes.
Where is that written?
Because anything that we give out, they're considered like outreach type things. Our name has to be on them.
When was this established? Because this is the first I've ever heard of it.
That's the way it always has been, but this is something they're enforcing now.
Oh, okay. Well, does she say offhand where we can look this up? Because I want to make sure that if it's something that's going to be quote unquote enforced, then I'd like to know exactly what it is we have to follow.
Probably somewhere in the funding manual.
Well, I don't know of any. What stickers are
Well, just print out. I mean, I could even print them out. I'll go get some stickers, Avery stickers, and just throw them in here and print out.
Yeah, because
on my computer, all you need to do is just make up on Avery the neighborhood council logo, or even just write Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, that's time, energy, and money that we hadn't already planned for. None of which is necessarily a problem. It's just, again, she's just sort of announcing this thing as a thing that we could have already done this if we'd known it was going to be an issue. Oh, I'm sorry. Where's my I have too many windows open. Craig's got his hand up, so let me have Craig come in and go ahead, Craig. Oops, ask to unmute. Sorry, I'm
Craig?
Try that.
Craig, you're muted.
Mute.
There you
Can
go.
you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are.
I am muted twice, so, okay. Can you put port committee and report?
Whoops, oh well.
Oops.
What the? I'll fix that part. That be you, Craig?
Yeah.
Mr. Vice President, I have a comment afterward.
Sure.
It's unrelated. It's unrelated, completely different. Whenever
Okay,
you're
Craig, was that it? Just to add the report?
Yeah, can we put on the motion to schedule a town hall meeting? Can we come up with a date?
That's a good question.
Good question.
Is this
Because for us to do that, the big problem is, we got to start talking to people about the date to get people to.
You're right. And I think it's better to suggest one rather than try to determine one during the board meeting. If we have, let's say, a couple of options to present, as opposed to asking 17 people, what do you guys think? We could save ourselves a lot of time. Let me pull a calendar up here.
Melanie, is this the whole motion, or is this just a brief description and you've actually got a document that says what the motion is?
That is the whole motion.
Okay.
I think we might add, I need to write some, it's not going to actually be much more I'll probably come up with something, like bullet points, like a half a paragraph. But it'll say basically that. All right, so our meeting is the 8th. I would like to get it. I mean, honestly, I don't, if we have,
Problem is
We're-
during the holidays, getting anybody to attend of official wise, because they're on, they go dark.
well, right, and I think, just for the sake of being somewhat timely and for trying to avoid holidays, it should probably be the following week. So sometime from the 15th through the 19th. I would think, and I don't have anything else board related or anything else right now. So I would think maybe Tuesday through Thursday would probably be best. I mean, I don't have a particular reason to pick one day over another.
Do we have any committees though that are meeting during then? Because we need to
Oh,
use the Zoom account.
Well, so many windows. Let me see.
Which Tuesday through Thursday were you talking about?
I was looking at the 16th through the 18th.
You think that's enough time to get response for people to attend?
Well, it's either that or, well, we could do it the week of Thanksgiving, 22nd through the 24th. I mean, I guess if we did that, that is, if we were to say, for instance, Monday, November 22nd, that would be 2 weeks to the day from the
Right.
approval. And that would give, I think, a reasonable amount of time for whoever to either, they would respond in some kind, like,
And is outreach that Monday though?
Why don't we come up with like 3 dates and let's see what we can get on people to respond, like when the captain, somebody from the different offices, whether we can get any response from them.
Also, I'm looking at the calendar of meetings.
Then another thing,
The
Tom,
22nd is youth and outreach, the 23rd is community issues, 24th is open.
how about the 24th then?
Okay.
That's the day before Thanksgiving, so keep that in mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people might be traveling.
Did you say there was something on the 22nd?
Youth and
Yeah,
outreach,
isn't
Oh.
outreach?
We moved, yeah, it's messed up on my calendar because we just changed the date. It's, yeah, I think you're right though. So,
Or we do the 29th.
that's Hanukkah. Or the
What?
beginning, I don't,
29th is nothing.
shows on my calendar, as a US holiday is Hanukkah, so I don't know.
Oh, really? On the 29th of November?
That's
Oh,
what
is it the
shows.
first?
December.
December is the
I think I
29th.
did that on the calendar, but I'm not sure.
Hanukkah is the,
Second, no, it's the November 29th through, but it's not a big, it's,
the 29th.
I don't know how to put this. It's not a holiday that you take off for. So
Oh, okay.
Okay.
it's
Not a
not
high
like a
holiday?
fast day, or it's not like the high holidays or
The
Pesach.
29th, everybody would be back from the holiday and not leaving generally.
And that entire week is open, yeah, that entire week is open as far as none of our council meetings.
all right, so do we want to ask then for,
Mr. Vice President, I had a comment.
oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, on this topic, I'm kind of opposed to us scheduling a meeting at a board meeting. I think it's kind of a little out of the ordinary. I think that scheduling a meeting could probably done completely outside on email, but I mean, if you want to do that, we could do it. I think we should do this. I'm in favor of the town hall. I just don't really want to talk about it at a board meeting because it's going to take up time, but I think it'd be better suited to action items, but that's kind of my stance on that. And also, I think you should probably do it sooner than later, but it's going to kind of just lose steam as time goes on. I
Right.
think
Yeah,
it's going to be
I
less
agree.
interesting. I would say as soon as you can.
So back to, could you move your outreach meeting to the 29th and then do the 22nd, the town hall?
Well, the other question would be,
Because I
Well,
leave the 1st of December and I'm gone until the 8th.
all right, well.
I think the biggest holdup is how many people, what people we can get to respond for the town hall.
Right, right. And then of course, and if that doesn't pan out, then the date doesn't really matter much. I think that the 24th is kind of the sweet spot between being open and being soon enough. I mean,
Yeah,
I suspect whether they need to or whether they want to, some of the people we contact are going to drag their feet on getting back to us at all, much less committing. But I think that's enough time, more than 2 weeks to, it's kind of, fair play if
okay.
we call them out for that.
That's why I was saying, if we come up with a few days, that way we can just say, hey, we want a town hall. These are the few days we can find and see if we can get anybody to match up.
Yeah, so let's do this. How about if we try and float the idea of the 24th, and if there is, if a significant number of people or significant people can't do that because they're taken off early or whatever, then we can use the 29th as a reserve, and then moving youth and outreach either on the clock or on the calendar, it would be less of a problem because there's just fewer people. So if we otherwise have people committing, and then that's the date we can use it as an emergency thing. But if we go to the board meeting and suggest that, say, we have the 24th penciled in and we have the 29th as a fallback, that way we don't have much to, we don't have to go through the nuts and bolts of it there.
And Christian, to your question about it being on the agenda, the thought process in this, when we had the public safety meeting, was that we need the support of the board for this. We need the board to back this. So it's important to bring it to the board for support.
Yeah, I think the buy-in, and again, I take Christian, I believe Christian pointed out earlier in email that procedurally, we don't have to do that. But I think the buy-in end of it is, for me anyway, it's super important because I don't want it to be a relatively small number of people, with a particular interest who are kind of trying to make this thing happen. If there aren't us, if there really isn't a resonance in the community. So, and I would also be kind of sort of counting on board members to help get the word out and to hopefully participate.
what time would you want to start this at? And
I would say 6.
Yeah, 6.
Give people time to eat, and then hopefully it wouldn't go too late. Maybe put a 2-hour.
6 to 8.
Yeah.
okay. Is that good wording for the motion then?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I think so. Not too specific and not too broad.
Yep.
And Christian, did you have you said you had another comment on an unrelated thing before that?
Yeah, just in terms of the actual, like, a procedure and administrative side for the agenda, I've been thinking and listening to different people because there was a big discussion at Central about organizing agendas, and I was thinking maybe we could try, and that's why I wanted to discuss it with the executive board and whoever else is here. What if we just kind of eliminate certain items and just have public comment and just roll all the reports that are from people not on the board? So keep liaison reports separate, but just have the police and have the government officials just all report under public comment, because then it would just streamline it, in my opinion. They're all public people. Like, so I don't think it would be inappropriate. It would break with the convention, and I understand that breaking with conventions is hard, but I would like to suggest it in the interest of efficiency.
So you're suggesting that that nobody be able to respond to those people when
Oh,
they
that's right.
make
Yeah,
those
because if they're
comments?
there, you can't respond to anything they say.
Yeah,
I
that's a
don't
good
think
point.
that's a good idea.
That's a good
I don't
catch.
think so. You need to allow everybody to ask a question for the.
Yeah, that's the main difference, obviously. Without digging, and again, I don't know the rules by like the back of my hand, but that's the one thing is that for public comment, we just have to kind of let it sit. And for the other things, we should hopefully, we usually have questions and answers and all that stuff. And
yeah,
I think,
that's a little bit of a broad interpretation of the Brown Act, and I think it mostly applies to the board itself, and that questions can be asked to the public officials. And as long as we're not digging too deep and we're going to delve into something that might become an item, but that's an issue even if we have like CD15 report on there, even if we ask like Ryan Ferguson something that's related to a CIS, we can't ask him specific questions on a CIS in depth, because then that CIS wouldn't be on the agenda. So I understand what you're saying, and if you want to keep the convention, we can, but I think that that's kind of a little bit too broad of an interpretation of the Brown Act. I think that questions to public officials would be covered under public comment, personally.
I think it's good to question those things. I mean, it's certainly, I try to tell myself, don't do anything for no good reason. It's worth looking at. Maybe we should do a little more. I mean,
Because
it's,
I
I
know
would,
any meeting I've gone to for public comment, you cannot comment on public comment. Even a city hall meeting, they don't. And so if it's
Right.
categorized under public comment, then we aren't going to be able to ask like Officer Brown any questions. We aren't going to be able to ask, anybody from the fort coming any questions, or, any of the senator that might show up, their representatives that we may have a question. And that's the purpose for those being separated, is to be able to ask your representatives that come questions if you have something that's on your plate that you need to ask them.
and and the more I think about it, the thing, I don't know how much time it would save us necessarily. And I think having the structure here on paper might even be more useful to keep these things, I know that sometimes when we have a presentation or we have a presenter or a public official or whatever, sometimes those things will go off a little bit into the weeds. But I think if we had less structure and that was all just in one big basket, it might not help us, especially when we get back in person and people are going back and forth. I agree with the idea of looking at this, and I'm not dismissing the idea of actually changing these things up, but I would like to know specifically if, like, we do have this prohibition on response to the comments and stuff like that. And if not, then we could maybe work on it. But if, I want to make sure we don't put something in place and have it kind of handcuff us.
Right. And also,
I don't see what the difference is. I mean, we want public officials to report,
yeah,
have reports, and we want to be able to ask them questions. Why would we put them under non-agenda items? Doesn't
exactly.
make sense
Right.
to me.
And we're supposed to partner with these public officials and partner with our elected officials and all of that, and be a partner with them. And if we start throwing them under public comment, that shows just how much we don't respect them when they do come to our meetings. And we have enough problems getting CD15 to show up, let alone we need to respect them when they do show up, to give them that category to be able to speak in.
And I guess it would also.
Yeah, well, if I can be so bold, I would just say that we're the star of the show at the neighborhood council meetings, and I think part of my job, part of my responsibility, part of my interest is to always kind of challenge each other to think that the action items, the port committee, the finance committee, the outreach committee, like that should be the meat. That should be what the public comes to. Ideally, that's what I'm striving for. That's what the public should want to attend our meetings for, because they actually want to discuss and weigh in on those topics that have to do with actual community change. So that's kind of why I'm always thinking about how can we emphasize those committee reports and those action items. That's the impetus.
I think you should. I think you could take this up at the board meeting and see what the rest of the board thinks about it. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but part of it is getting our elected officials out there and letting them know, or like, especially like the first responders. It's really important, when we get Brown up there and he's telling us about the crime, that we can ask, the community can ask them questions.
And would it affect how much time speakers have? Like, for instance, if we made a rule, as I believe we should have, I mean, sometimes it's a minute, sometimes it's 2 minutes, but if we had everything under public comment, how could we limit, give one person 10 and another person 5 or 2 or 1? It might be worth it. It could also be a time suck to have just a discussion or informal poll under the executive report about this topic to the board. I would be interested. I mean, we've obviously brought up a bunch of important things, pro and con here. I think it would probably be worth talking about just to either find out if it's a good idea or to put it to bed if it's not, or whatever. But I'm interested in putting a little more time into it if other people are.
I'd be fine with it on. I think that, like I said, it's always my goal is to just have us think about getting the public to interact with our committee items and our action items and our CIS items. So if that would kind of draw the attention to our perhaps changing our culture a little bit to do that, I would like it.
Yeah, I think it's probably just in the broadest sense, I think it's a good idea to at least kind of poke those things with a stick every once in a while, just to see if we're doing, to kind of test what function it actually provides for us, but it may be that we're doing it the right way. Maybe that we could try something different. Where? There we go. And then it would also give us a chance to bounce some of these off of bylaws to see if there's anything offhand that Diana could tell us was either, possible or not possible based on those rules. Under item 7, are there any other additions or changes or discussion of those things? It looks like we've got kind of our standard parade.
Are we keeping what we did last month with the 6:45 and I don't know if it was like 7:30 or something with the take up, like the mandatory take up thing?
Tell me. Well, I missed that meeting, so tell me about that.
AB 361 does not allow us to have time limits.
Yeah, go ahead, Madam Treasurer, please explain it.
AB 361 does not allow us to have time limits on things, because if you don't reach it at that time for virtual, you end up that the public doesn't have access to the public comment of agenda items.
So
they recommended no time limits on anything.
Oh. Well, what I was saying isn't necessarily a time limit. It's a mandatory time to take up an item. So it's actually, it would give the public an even better understanding of when it would be. But I see what you're saying. Like, theoretically, I guess we could blow through the meeting and at 6:30 we'd be done. And then if it said like we have to take up the item at 6:45, we have to just wait. So I think I get what you're saying. I think I get.
Yeah, because AB 361, you have to allow proper time for the public to comment on the agenda items. And so if you said we had to be like, say, at public safety by 7 p.m., and so you were having discussion all through here that took some time, and then you disconnect on some of these things and just say, we're going to jump to it because it's 7.
Yeah, I can see that.
That gets rid of things that you probably should have considered that people have been waiting in public comment to comment on.
Or even, I think even
on agenda items.
Well, even if you had it, let's say you had it perfectly synchronized for 1 month, that wouldn't necessarily mean it would work well for another. So you could probably have it work well, but any number of things could kind of push you out of sync who knows, like us going back in person or whatever. Yeah, I have for a while have wondered about the feasibility of assigning timelines. I didn't know that that rule was more or less against it, but just in terms of trying to get everything addressed on the agenda, because we had so many meetings where stuff was left off at the end. We had reports that weren't done because we ran out of time. I was
Right.
thinking about a way to try and make sure everybody got time in there, but I guess, it's really left up to us to decide if we want to
I
go
think the
longer.
important thing that takes a lot of time, and not naming anybody or anything, but we need to kind of streamline people asking one question, and then they come back for a second round, and they come back for a third round, and they come back for a fourth round. And we need to keep it to just keep your questions, one question and you're done.
Well, and it's hard because sometimes, because you don't know what you're sacrificing later on. Let's say you're going around and around on a particular thing, not realizing you're eating up time you might need for something later on, but it doesn't necessarily speak to the quality of the thing that you're dealing with in the moment. So I can see it both ways. There's been times I sort of, not to be too delicate about it, felt like my time was being wasted, but in theory, we should have, sometimes things do deserve a little bit more than, a couple of minutes.
Right.
I think it's just a matter of, gentle, maybe not so gentle
I
reminders.
mean, just
as
like the
needed.
public safety thing, I'm sure is going to generate a lot of
Obviously,
conversation
yeah.
and comments.
Yeah.
And I mean, that more comes to the chair's generalship of the meeting.
Yeah, it comes down
know.
to style. I mean,
Yeah, you have to be able to keep down and say, hey, we need to end discussion. I wanted to point out something on bylaws and election, if I can.
go ahead.
We're supposed to be having an election, for a board election of the board members, so
At
should
this
that be
meeting?
there? Yeah, isn't it?
Okay. So that's a seat selection then.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Shouldn't
have-
candidates have been sent out to board members?
I'm looking through.
last
because it was supposed to
day-
close by the 29th or something, and
Yes,
then,
that's what I was just gonna say. The last day that applications were able to be postmarked was this past Friday, the 29th. I went by and checked the mail this afternoon, and there were no further applications. So Diana should have everything she needs at this point.
she has 2 applications. I know we're
And I
going
think
over to
number
the meeting
two.
tomorrow, so I would say you'd put it on there. And I'm pushing that that we put the name of the people out on our website and should be on the report, so it shouldn't be a surprise who's gonna be running and who isn't.
Do we have, well, let me see.
So we probably need to check with Diana and find out what's going on between now and Thursday.
Right. Yeah. I will email her now and
Like,
copy you on what.
because I don't know if she's planning on having, like, submitting their statements from each candidate or have them speak or what.
Yeah, the way
Generally,
I would
that's
like
the
to do it, the way I would like to do it is for them to have a statement available beforehand, at least 72 hours for them to, for that to be in the packet. And then I think if we'd like, I would be okay with maybe like 5 minutes of questions total, and then that's it. But it would, or really like maybe like
Drop
2
that.
questions per candidate. But I think that if we have a good description before that and they give their opening speech, and I think that we know who they are. I think it's Adrianita and I think it's Adrianita Reyes Cruz and Anelia Kortkamp. So I have a good idea on both of them myself. And I don't know if the rest of the board does, but they should. So I understand Craig's concern on that. So we should definitely get everyone else acquainted with the.
I just want, I'm like you, I would like all that up front so that everybody knows, and if, the community wants to comment on it, they can comment.
Yeah,
Uh,
And we need to have that done as one of the first things. So whoever gets that seat is allowed to vote on future things on the agenda. So it needs to go up front, not buried in the committee report.
I like
So-
that. I think we should appoint them as soon as we can because that I
Yeah.
would like them to participate.
that should be the first thing we
That's
do.
what I just said.
Yeah, that's good.
So do you want them before the consent calendar?
Yes, yes.
we usually did, previously, we did that stuff up in the, the front of the calendar.
Well, that's red for sure.
Okay, there we go.
Fellow council members, I have to get going, but it was good to hear from you, and we will see each other again, I hope.
Great. If you get a chance, Christian, can you give me a call about the port committee so we can have a brief discussion? I saw your email.
Yeah, and then yeah, I will do that. I will
Okay.
do that.
Okay, great.
Good times maybe are like maybe like 11, yeah, like 11 o'clock is looking good for me lately.
Okay. I'll try and reach you at 11 tomorrow. You try and reach me.
Okay.
Okay, great.
We lost Chris.
Yeah,
Oh, do you need me to stay then for a quorum?
Probably.
oh, wait.
Okay, I can.
Wait, here he
I'm
is.
just-
He's back. Never mind.
He's muted himself.
He's muted himself.
Chris, you're muted.
Yeah, I had my network adapter just pooped out, and that's troubling. But it's like the second time this has happened in a week. So it was definitely
Yeah, it happened in public safety too. We lost.
yeah. And my computer's been otherwise. I don't know if it was my router or my actual computer, but anyway, that's what happened. All right, so I just emailed Diana and copied you guys, just basically asking her what we should put in there. I don't know if she'll get right back to us, but hopefully, within the next day or
We have a meeting tomorrow, so I'll push
Okay.
on it.
And Chris, while you were dropped off, we moved the selection of the Averill seat member up to right before the consent calendar.
That makes sense. All righty. So where does that leave us here? All right. Is there anything else? Basically, I think looks like we got it all ironed out. Not that that's not enough to worry about.
Yeah, I think we have enough for the agenda.
Okay.
I think
and
we'll
I'll-
have a fast meeting.
Yeah, well, which is never too big a problem. We'll have a lot of other things to worry about it soon after. Okay, and we obviously have enough time to mess with this if we get any, breaking news. But with that having been considered, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I moved.
Mr. Vice President, I move to adjourn.
Okay, well, I'll take that as Melanie moving and Christian, Mr. President, seconding that. And if anyone is opposed to adjourning the meeting at this time, please say so. All righty, all right, again,
Okay, you have a good day.
you
Talk to y'all later.
you as well, take it easy, everybody, and we'll see you sooner than later.